the sun and the moon.
Okay.
They both played a huge part in my own journey over the last 12 months of my own research. And I'll start with the sun. I can't remember what triggered this, but I ended up looking really closely at images from Egypt and other ancient cultures where we're told that they are sun worshipping. And I kind of just looked at these images more objectively and with a fresh eye.
Sure.
And to me, they didn't, for the first time I looked at them and saw that they didn't seem active, rather they looked passive. And by that I mean it didn't seem like worshipping the sun, it seemed like receiving from the sun.
Exactly.
So in my research it led to coming across the practice of sun gazing. And so I started doing sun gazing.
Yeah.
And I was only doing it for a week when I was sitting there one morning and just had knowing, is all I can explain it. The first knowing was that the true Trinity is the Father, Son, Mother Earth and us.
Exactly.
And that had been distorted.
Yes, it has.
To take not only our power away from us, but Mother Earth's. The second was that the symbology of the sun has also been kind of hijacked, I guess, by the powers that be. They appear to worship the sun themselves. It's in all of their symbols.
Yeah.
So that we come to that very basic conclusion, well, they worship it, therefore it's bad, let's turn away.
Yeah, it's a reverse psychological operation happening on the planet to turn people away from the sun.
And when I realised that, I thought of we all wear sunglasses.
Yeah.
We all cover ourselves in sunscreen.
Yeah.
We have got our slip, slop, slap program here in Australia that's been running for a long time, and it's all to prevent us from receiving the sun's energy physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, because when I look at it in the mornings, doing that sun gazing, you can feel, without actually having, how can I put it, thoughts that you can articulate, but it feels like wisdom is kind of coming in somewhere in the back of your head and just starting to infiltrate. And then during the course of the day, or over the course of days, you start to just come to nice little realisations on your own.
Well, see, that's the beauty of it, and that's what I've said all along. People already know this, and people will reawaken to this for themselves, and you're a prime example of that. You know, you're not regurgitating what other people have said, you're just sharing an experience that you had, which confirms, things that people like myself and others are actually saying about the construct of life here, that our essence flows in from the core of the sun to the core of the earth, and then to our incarnational constructs, and that's our umbilical cord. But we're not going back up that path, that's not, externalising, it's just the flow of the construct here. But what we're becoming is so much more than that, and, but the connection, to have that connection with Father, Son and Mother Earth is imperative if you wish to take the organic path to ascension. That's what it comes down to. And all these other concepts and modalities and philosophies are designed to turn us away from that knowing, to steer us away from that, to some other avenue, whatever each entity behind each philosophical construct wants to draw you into that one, or draw you into that one, or draw you into that one.
So really, to be here and really participate in this ascension process, it feels like you don't need anything more than what you get from the sun and connecting with Mother Earth, and listening to in here. And
being yourself.
And that's it.
And that's it. It is really that simple. Just be you. Because to be you means just to continue down your path, to flow in your own river of life. Because if they need to go and sit on a park bench and get drunk for the next month, then that's good for them. That's what they needed to rebalance themselves. Now, a white lighter from the false light will say, well, that's just stupid to recommend that. That's totally going against it. You should be meditating and bringing in the light, and, that's creating an imbalance in that person. They need that charge to rebalance themselves.
I've actually noticed those cycles in my own life where I go through periods of eating really well, sleeping really well, doing all the right things, I'm doing the right thing, drinking properly,
Yeah.
and then I'll go through an equally unbalanced period where there's too much wine and not the right
too many chalky biscuits,
too much chocolate.
Yeah.
And these definite cycles, I can see them now.
Yeah.
They're becoming really, really obvious.
And you become aware of your patterns, your own cycles, and it's so important not to beat yourself up.
No, I'm not anymore.
But we tend to do that. I've done it in the past. And when people drink too much or have too many touch chocolate or whatever, whatever it is, they end up beating themselves up and they end up becoming their own worst enemy. And it's important because that just creates that big divide. Just go, okay, I did that. Let's just move on and learn from it. Let's not go there again.
Yeah.
And or I'm just going to keep doing this till one day I'm actually going to learn the lesson. And the next time you do it, you feel even worse. And the next time you do it, you feel even worse. Then one day the penny drops and you go, oh, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this after all because the message you finally got came through. And, we're a bit thick-headed down here and it takes a while, because our bodies are talking to us all the time and we don't listen to our bodies as much as we should. But anyway, we get there in the end.
It feels to me like there's periods of not doing so much the right thing for myself are actually processes of grounding. Because I do the right things and so I get up and I've got to ground myself again. And then I grow and then I've got to ground myself again. That's how it feels. When I first started researching the moon, I came across a book called Penetration, which was by Ingo Swann, the founder of remote viewing.
Yeah.
And he talked about in that book an experience of remote viewing the moon and finding that it was inhabited, for one, with humans, non-humans, lots of machinery. There was a lot of work going on there. And he came to the conclusion that it was man-made or artificial.
Yeah, it's an artificial satellite. Yeah.
And then David Icke came out with his book. His recent one, The Lion Sleeps No More. And he dedicates quite a bit of that to the moon. And he talks about the fact that it is, again, artificial, that it was placed specifically where it's been placed in our orbit. But it goes way beyond that, that it's the base of operations for the dark agenda. And that they... Locally. And that they are literally broadcasting this
mind
matrix.
Which is what I said in March of 2009.
Right.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Now
wholeheartedly.
I'm looking at the
because I've been there and
I've
seen it. I've been there and I've seen it.
So where I found your version of the moon and his version of the moon varied, although identical up to that point, was that he believed it was completely artificial. And I guess controlled by, owned, run and controlled by the elite, the dark.
Well, the elite go there for holidays.
Yeah.
Since 52, even before then, but of late, another more levels of the elite go there since 1952 when Truman was taken there and indoctrinated into the Dark Brotherhood.
What? As president? When he was president?
Oh, well,
that
towards the end.
That, wasn't it?
Oh, it was at the end.
Towards the end. So, why him? Why not the presidents before?
Well, it's like a reward.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Think of it as a reward. That's probably the best way to put it.
So have all the presidents since known?
Some. Yeah, they got... Because they allowed more members of the ruling elite to go there for holidays, it then creates a more precarious situation. More people end up knowing about it, more gets leaked, and so they just tighten the reins a little bit here and there. But, yeah, still some people are going there on a regular basis.
So where you vary from David is the origins of it.
Oh, the origins of the moon. Oh, okay, because I haven't read David's book. I've seen an interview with him speaking of the moon, and I just agree with everything he said. I think it's wonderful that he understands what the moon is about as well. I think we parallel in a lot of things, yeah.
But I tend to resonate with your story of its origins because it does explain, as a woman, my connection to it.
Yeah, the connection that we have with the moon is so deep, and if people were to understand the origins of it, it makes a difference. Because if it was totally an artificial construct from day one by the Draconian empires, then we wouldn't have the connection with it that we do.
And the fact that we have one is undeniable.
It was originally a Pleiadian craft used to seed life, and it was used to seed a lot of life here. That's why they wanted that craft, because they knew that placing that around the Earth had a better connection with all of life here, and that is the greatest mechanical tool they could use to manipulate this reality than anything else.
So they didn't build it, they stole it.
They stole it. It had its own atmosphere, its own ecosystem. It was just a planetoid, which was a beacon in... it was an absolute beacon in a craft that was used to seed life. A beacon in the fleet of beings of the light. It was amazing. Everyone loved that craft. There's so much energy at one stage. So when that got lost, when that was lost in the war to defend Earth against these empires, the pain was horrendous, and we still carry a lot of that pain in our memories. The yearning and the pain we have for the moon is horrendous on very, very, very deep subconscious levels. Yeah, that history of who and what the moon is such an amazing story. I would love to make a movie about it. It would really touch a lot of people, making a movie about that subject.
So it started off as this beautiful place,
yeah,
and got turned into the Death Star.
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah. So George Lucas had it mostly right, except for the part where they created the Death Star themselves. No, they didn't. They got it and they trashed it, because the life force just was gone with the crystals that were helping to drive it, and all the beings from the ethers that were involved, and the higher realms of the fourth dimensional planes behind the scenes that were involved in the creation of life via this vessel was so profound. And the fact that it was used to seed Earth, which is the melting pot of the universe. So at one stage, there was more energetic patterns running through that vehicle than anything else in the universe. Did we walk on the moon? Yes, we did. Did we go there on our own accord? Nope. It was a contract, it was a deal that was done behind the scenes, and they were taken there in craft and placed there, and when it came time to go, they were brought back. Anyone with half a brain really could just look at the technology they were using and would know that there is absolutely impossible for a little tin can like that to make the journey through the Van Allen radiation belt and the spacesuits that they used, and it's just a joke.
How should we feel about the moon now? I mean, because people, including myself, feel a number of emotions. Sad at what's happened to the moon.
Yeah.
Not wanting to be controlled by the moon. So kind of
anymore
turning my back on the moon, and yet sad at doing that as well. Can we consciously choose to opt out of this moon-led matrix?
Yeah, that's what we're doing. And the way I approach the moon now is I look at it as an old friend who has played the devil's advocate for me, because that's what it's designed to do. Ultimately, from much higher levels of the universe, when you understand the role the moon has played, it was always destined to do this from the day it was created. This was its journey all along, just like us. I mean, any person who creates a life here, well, the moon has a life's journey as well. And so it was always destined to play this role here. And so it's served us immeasurably. You can't put words to the role, to how it's served you and me and everybody here. Because without the moon, we would never have this construct of duality we have here.
So as the sun is a being, and Earth is a being, the moon is not.
everything is consciousness. The moon was a living, breathing being which died on that level of consciousness. It died. And it's now an empty vessel which is being possessed. Imagine someone dying and then their body actually being possessed by another spirit, and that person no longer in that body. And then that person looking really awful and sickly because they trashed the moon once they got a hold of it. The life force was no longer there. They smothered it with silica, and and that's the majority of its out external coatings, just silica. All the internal walls, the infrastructure inside is all silica. When you walk around in there, it's like all wavy sort of bathroom walls. I mean, when you look through a bathroom window, they're translucent, but they're not transparent. So there's a lot of that construct inside of it. When I was walking through the corridors there, and anyone else who's been up there will attest to that. And
there were some photos just in the last couple of weeks that NASA released. Very clear, very up close photos of the moon.
Oh, is that right?
That people believe is evidence of the fact that it is not a natural phenomenon. It's too perfect. The nature has imperfections in it, and there just aren't any in the sense of nature's imperfections. It's a very round, smooth surface with impact points that only penetrate a certain way, certain depth, and no further.
They don't go beyond, no.
And when you look at these images, it looks like a golf ball with its little dimples. Yeah. These dimples would be the aftermath of the war that was fought to take it.
Some asteroid, but majority of the aftermath of the battles, yes. And there's remnants of structures on there that have been broken due to of the war that took place, for the battles. It was quite a vicious battle. Yeah, it's exactly like a Star Wars type scenario. I mean, this isn't science fiction, this is science fact. This is, well, someone once said...
knew somebody who knew somebody what he said.
Well, a person of great wisdom once said, I don't know where this originated from, but truth is stranger than fiction, and it truly is. But the story of the moon, that's a big one. I mean, the more people can remember that one, it really affects us deeply, because the moon has been that one instrument that has challenged us the whole way. It's played the devil's advocate for us through this whole journey here on Earth. It's played the devil's advocate for Mother Earth and Father Sun. It really is an incredible instrument. Now, the other important thing to understand about the moon is that the beings that live in the moon, that is now their home. And I've had meetings with them in the past 12 months, and it's important that people understand that they need to stay there, because they cannot live anywhere else. The vibration of the moon now is their home. If they go anywhere else, they will just perish.
Where are these people from?
Some came from Mars, and others have just been their lineage goes way back to the Draconian empires and reptilian empires. But they've been on there for a very long time. They've been in other craft prior to going to the moon, but now the moon is their home. And so that moon the moon will never become, well, not in the near eons or epochs or eras. I don't know how far down the track, if it does change at all, but for the next few epochs and eras of time, these beings will be living on the moon. And so it needs to be taken away from here, so Mother Earth can then expand and become a being of light.
It has to move
Literally,
out.
It will be taken away from here. And when it does, the pull we're all going to feel from in here is going to be amazing, and women will feel it a lot more than men.
Well, apparently when it was placed there, it was cataclysmic.
It was,
on Earth.
because if you think of a spinning ball, we don't have anything around to show it, but if you can think of a spinning ball, and then something comes in and puts it there and just knocks it off its axis and totally starts spinning the Earth the other way, or not the other way, but on a totally different orbit, 23 degrees off the axis. It just you know, just went woof like that, just pulled it and started spinning that way. The effect it had here was horrendous. Now, people are going to want to know what sort of time frame. I myself don't have an absolute knowing on this. There's some things I have absolute knowings on. This is not one of them, but I'm going to tell you what I do feel to a certain degree. I feel that the moon was placed here around 6,000 years ago. That's how old that's how long I think the moon has been around the Earth. Not think, feel. If you look into the Egyptian hieroglyphs, there is no moon in the hieroglyphs. People will say, don't be stupid, you can pick up any book on Egypt and they'll go, that hieroglyph represents the moon. It's actually a celestial boat. And people say, oh, it's in the shape of a crescent, that's the moon. Because they've got to make it fit, right? But in truth, there is no hieroglyph of the moon.
Well, I know from reading David Icke's book that the Africans have stories and legends about the time before the moon.
Exactly. In the Bible, and I forgot the verse, but I've got it written at home. I've got the actual wording of the Hebrew and then the translation. And the translation says, thou shalt be feared at the time, by the time of the sun and the time of the moon. You go back and then thou shalt be feared at the time of the sun and the time before the moon. Right? So in the actual original Bible, it talks about the time before the moon. Okay? So if scientists dare to really, realistically look at the tidal marks in the geological records, they will see, right, according to my knowing and my feelings and my understandings, and many others, not just me, right? I'm just sharing with you my perspective here, and it's not the only one that has this perspective, is that around 6,000 years ago is when the tidal marks began. And I mean tidal marks, not wind pushing water up onto the shores. I mean realistic tidal marks. And they'll find that they go back as far as 6,000 years.
But when the Earth's removed...
The other point I want to make is, why is it that all our major religions on the planet say that life began 6,000 years ago?
Yeah, right.
That God created life 6,000 years ago. Just an interesting little tidbit for you. I said a long time ago when I drew the whole cycle of the precession of the equinoxes, and I said it's in the last quarter, and that life really, that the beings were allowed to come here. And this is another piece of information I'm sharing that comes from my aspect as a galactic, in the Galactic Council, is we allowed them, and I said that in the grand journey in the grand deception. I said, we will let you come here and do this. Okay? And me, you, and all us others who are here from the light, we let them come here and do this to this reality. We let you come here. That's the message I have for all these beings out there. This is what I tell them when I have meetings with them on the moon. Don't forget our agreement. We let you come here to do this. Don't forget that. Why? Now it's time for you to go.
Did we let them just purely for the experience of extreme duality?
Creating. They were the ones that we knew would create the reality and the environment that was needed for us then to incarnate and create the reality and have the experiences we needed to rebalance our souls in order to ascend.
So whenever they get cocky, you put them back in their place? We
put them back in their place. Because I'm doing it here, George shooting his mouth off, but you're doing it from other avenues, behind the scenes, at night, whatever. We're all doing it together. But they need a little reminder. Yeah. You need a reminder. We let you come here and do this, and I truly mean it from the heart, and you need to remember. You need to remember that agreement, because that's a forgotten agreement. You've become addicted to this reality. That's the lure and the trap. You've been seduced by your own creation. So just be careful and remember.
But they all know this is coming to an end too, don't they?
They do. The beings in the moon know. Fully aware. They need to maintain the integrity of the matrix to a certain degree. It's universal law. And people say, hang on, how can you maintain the suffering? The imprisonment, that, and then I'll go off on all these tangents. So I'm already feeling it. I'm already feeling their reactions. That's why I'm just, sorry for holding up on the next question, but I already know what people are going to be, how they're going to be reacting to what I just said. And I'm already feeling it. And so you've got, that's playing the victim. That's not understanding duality from the higher perspective. Okay? All the suffering I've suffered in my life is because I wanted to from a higher level. Yeah. I created this life. Okay? So all my pain and suffering is of my own making. All the people that are suffering in the world is of their own making. It's a journey that they wanted to have. It's an experience. So if people wanted to end it right now, like there's a part of me that wanted to end it a long time ago, of course. We want to end the suffering, right? But I don't want to override someone's soul journey. I have no right to do that. I have no right to take away someone's experience from them.
No.
Okay? People are suffering because that's what they wanted from a higher level. And if people can't grasp that concept, then they do not understand duality. They are still caught inside the drama of duality, and they have not risen their awareness above it and beyond it. So that's really important.
So I take it from that there is a divine right moment.
Yes.
For this to all.
Yes, there is.
Switch and click over.
Yes, there is. And it's going to happen within the next 2 years.
Yep. We don't know when exactly.
I don't know when exactly the moon's going to go. All I can say is it's going to happen within the next 2 years.
But is the effects of the moon leaving going to be as cataclysmic as it was when you came here?
Yes. So it'll have to leave after 2012, December 21, 2012. In that 3-month period, it'll be dragged out of here. Or it might be dragged before then. I'm not sure. I don't know exactly, so I can't say. I know some of the things that are going on, but I don't have every little detail. There's still fun in the mystery for me too. I'm not immune from it totally. Okay, the law of attraction is, because I made a statement that we now have the ability to alter the matrix. Now, I went into it briefly, and what I shared was it can only be done when we are, as we are expressing our multidimensional selves, the ability to alter the matrix down here will only come from the higher aspects of ourselves. Mm-hmm. I can't alter the matrix from George. No. I can't alter the matrix from my galactic self. I can't do that either. I can only alter the matrix from my higher self. And the reason is it's the higher self that is flowing in that river of life. It's the part of me that's totally in harmony and one with the unfoldment of the divine plan. Mm-hmm. Okay? Here in this reality and anywhere else, as a matter of fact. So as I'm sort of like getting into a higher state of being, in that state you feel your journey, and that's what you can alter. You alter where your path is headed. You can't sit here and go, I want a Ferrari, so I want to alter the matrix so I can manifest a Ferrari. Mm. Where's that coming from? That's greed, materialism, ego, that's not. But if you feel that you have a path, like heading down a particular path, like me for example, and I can feel that there's a being that wants to interfere with that path, then I can then feel into my greater being, feel into my journey, and that being has come up, approached me with a resistive, threatening or intimidating whatever, then I will just say, go away, you do not have the power over me. And they just go away because they do not have the power over me. It's that simple. You have the ability to completely remove obstacles from your path. So I'm not saying I'm not going to have any challenges in the future. I'm not saying that. There are some I still need to have from the perspective of my soul. But the ones who feel that they can interfere with your journey and intimidate you and do whatever, those sort of things, you can alter the matrix. You you can change your will has the power to override whatever they want to do, because your will is coming from the greater river of life, and has what's behind us is the whole intention of the universal path, right? And what they're doing is like a man trying to stand on a beach, even like the Illuminati and all that. You know, for them to think that they're going to create a new world order on this planet in the next few years is so ludicrous. Okay? It's like a man standing on a beach while there's this 5-mile high tsunami, and he thinks he can stand there and put his hands out and stop it. I mean, that's the analogy I'm giving you. That's for the energetic and the energies that are pouring into this reality, and the way life is being changed here. For any of these intergalactic cabals, even Illuminatis, whatever, right, GF or whatever, they think they can stop what's happening here. They are totally deluding themselves. Okay, because there's no way. The amount of energy that is behind us and what we have formulated here, nothing is going to stop that. Absolutely nothing. The only way you can use the law of attraction in that way is when it's in conjunction with the river of life. And then you get to a point where you don't even have to consciously make anything happen, because you're so flowing in that river and you trust so much in that river. You connected with it, and the knowing is so great. The trust is completely there.
Yeah.
You don't have to. I've experienced that at times in my life.
So
we fluctuate, you know, we're still fluctuating. I'm still fluctuating between aspects of myself in all these different vibrational realms of myself, okay? So there's times where George still has his little insecurity moments, right? But there's times where I have felt in so much power, in so much knowing and steadfastness, that it does. I just go, I won't even bother going. I don't even have to think about altering anything. I'm in complete flow, and I'm just moving forward as I'm sitting in the car and I'm just driving along. It's like I'm flying in this river of energy, and I'm just moving through the matrix, and you become aware of things that are going on around you, and something crossing your path. Okay, I've got a message from that, and okay, there's another message, and that person stopped and said this to me. Okay, there was a message there, and it just becomes this interaction with the matrix here that just becomes wow.
The lady in the red dress passes.
Pardon?
The lady in the red dress passes.
You know, it's amazing how much this reality talks to us at any given moment.
You've talked in the past about the fact that you were being manipulated at one point.
Yeah.
What do you say to people who still believe you are being?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah. What I can say is that I've been through so many experiences now, and I've travelled into paradigms that are beyond the realms of manipulation. And so manipulation has a particular vibration to it, and they still attempt to manipulate me constantly. They do. They don't let up. I mean, I had an interview with Aaron McCullum, and he and I both suffered from a really, really severe disorientating headache. Well, we were attacked really hard within an hour after the interview, and I was knocked out for the rest of the day, and so was he. He had other interviews scheduled later that day and couldn't even make it, and so we needed to experience that for whatever reason. You know, there's many. And there's also, I get artificial thoughts still projected into my mind. The reality is we all do. We're all in the matrix. So you're having thoughts that aren't yours. Everybody's having thoughts that aren't theirs. There's nobody's immune to it. If someone says that their mind is completely theirs, then they haven't...
Canny that you bring that up.
It's impossible, okay? We're all in the matrix still, and we're still living this matrix, okay? So our minds are not ours yet. We're reclaiming, in the process of reclaiming them. But it's becoming aware of which thoughts that you have are yours and which thoughts aren't yours. And you then get to a place where you constantly dismissing the ones that aren't yours, And you're only placing your attention to the ones that are yours. And and then the shift starts to occur, and you get more and more of your mind back.
I'm sorry, I'm blown away that you've just talked about this, because I've just experienced this very thing.
Okay.
In between Christmas and New Year. For 5 of those 7 days, I was in a very strange place. And was off on mental tangents that didn't fit, is the only way I can explain it. They didn't resonate with my body, they didn't. And really went on a journey with them though, and only kind of came out of it about 3 days ago, if that. So I know exactly, when you're talking about this, I know exactly what you're saying. Thoughts about my friends and family, about my nearest and dearest, that, not me.
No, you wouldn't be having them.
I wouldn't know.
Why would you think that about them?
Of course.
You don't want to be thinking that about them, but there you are. And people say, oh, it's your subconscious, it's this, that. Crap. It is not.
But when
if you know how the matrix operates,
you know how it feels in here.
You do know how it feels.
Yeah.
It has a different flavour, it has a different feeling. I mean, people don't understand the construct of the matrix. They don't know how good it is. Oh, this is genius. We're talking about universal genius here. We're talking about beings who have been manipulating life for eons and eras and epochs of time that are unfathomable. Okay? We're not talking about a couple of hit town extraterrestrials who want to implement something just, a wimpy piece of technology. We're talking about a piece of artificial intelligence which monitors every thought, every feeling, which monitors people's lineage of previous lives, all the interactions they had with all the other people in previous lives, and can flag the events you're having with people in this life where you're sorting out karma, has the ability to amplify emotional reactions way beyond what they need to be, to create the conflict between people, can understand the galactic lineage and the history and the karma you have on a cosmic level.
It's mind-boggling.
Right? Yeah, I know what's going on in the moon. I know the construct of the matrix. Okay? I know what's going on with it. And I'm not saying that from an egotistical sense. To know the extent of the matrix we are in, to know the extent of its construct and how it works. When you're having an interaction with somebody and the extent to which that interaction is being monitored and manipulated on so many levels. Wow. Because they are not creators. They can only manipulate what already exists. So if you have a beef with somebody of a history of nature which is negative, which was, you may have been at war, eons ago somewhere else in the cosmos, and that charge, the energy charge, becomes straight to the surface. They know how to get into that, and they know the history of that charge, then they will manipulate it. And there's no one being that is capable of doing that. It is artificial intelligence that runs that. Because to monitor life on all that level, the amount of interactions that are going on, and let alone just your stuff, what about all the contractual energetic streams between races that are going on as well? So, let's expand a bit more, shall we? And then take your link with the natural kingdom, and for them to manipulate the natural kingdom to start bothering you, or your likes and dislikes with the natural kingdom. If you go camping, how can we annoy the shit out of that person, pardon my language? How can we annoy the crap out of that person while they're camping? Let's make their life miserable. They have a phobia of bees. Let's try and manipulate some bees somewhere to get it to come and harass them. Whatever. This is how full on it is, and people don't realise it.
But there's 7 billion people on the planet to monitor.
Yeah, that's why it's an artificial intelligence that does it. And it's a bioorganic computer, and they've got smaller versions of that on the planet. The government's been playing with this too. So they've got their own level of experiment happening with this type of artificial intelligence. And the biggest one on the planet is in Pine Gap. And then they've got smaller versions of it in other places on the planet. And the main computer that runs the whole show on Earth is based in the moon. And it's like a net that goes around the moon and the Earth, like a net. But those beings now, this is all coming to an end, and they know it. And those of us who are working behind the scenes with these beings, they're maintaining the integrity of the matrix, so people's soul journeys are being honoured, and then it's all just, and it's, if you have the sight, the foresight to see, you'll start to see holes appearing in the matrix. So it's deconstructing. They're already knowing it's deconstructing, and they're actually not working against that to stop the deconstruction any longer.
It makes, I don't know if I'm being too harsh, but it makes our entire lives feel like a bit of a farce. If it's...
No, totally the opposite.
If it can be that manipulated down to that finer detail.
Yeah, and the food that you eat, the water that you drink, the extent of manipulation in this reality, we're talking the best the universe has to offer. Right? If you want to come, okay, if you want to become, let me put it this way, if you want to become a universal creator, right, and this is graduation time, all possibilities and outcomes have been extended, right, have been experienced, then this is graduation time. You're going to get the best that the universe has to offer thrown at you. And if you get through this, if you can maintain your integrity and get through this process, you've earned your stripes, you deserve to be a creator of light. If you get taken by any false agenda, you're not ready to become a creator of light. Because if you start creating your own universe, the very nature of light being a dualistic expression, a waveform expression, you're in trouble. You can't create a universe that's just going to spiral out of control. It's going to affect all life around you on a universal scale. That's not on.
But that makes you have to ask the question: how much of my story is my story? How much of it is my soul contract, my journey, my natural process, and how much of it is being manipulated? From
a much higher perspective, all of it, because we contracted these beings to come in and do this to us.
Okay then. All right. That I can deal with.
They're serving us. They're providing the challenge, the resistance.
Yep.
Yeah? For us to work through. The negative charge is the resistance, the dark is the resistance. For us to work through, to move through all those challenges that have been put before us. And you're getting challenged in here. I've been getting challenged in here all my life. All the implants and the drugs and the programs that they've put into me. Here I am, my inner light and consciousness has defeated them one after the other after the other. And I sit here before you stronger than ever. Am I still being manipulated? There's always trying to attempt it. I don't feel that I am. I honestly don't feel that I am. And all I say to people is, see what resonates. See what in the message that I share, the content. Don't judge a person by their cover. You know, look at the content. Don't just look at it. Feel the content of what's being said. Does it resonate within you? Use that as the gauge, as the BS meter. Because we've all had incredible journeys, and I get up and I say the things that I do because I've been through it. I've been through the manipulations, and they're still trying, but it's the content of what's being shared.
In our last talk, we did touch a little bit on preparation for the next year or so for political, environmental changes that are likely. And I do believe that people in the US are pretty much in the front line when it's going to come down to what the dark energies are going to try and implement here. And I feel for them. And is there anything more you can elaborate on there in terms of how they can prepare, or what's necessary, what isn't? I know it's going to vary depending on where you are in the world and even where you are within the country, I guess.
Yeah, it will.
But the most talk about what to do is coming out of the US. So what advice can you give for them?
Yeah, and feel like they're in the front line because of the energetic patterns that that country is processing, expressing and processing and transmuting. And it is Atlantis. It is
I've got something about that I want to hit you with later too.
Okay, it is the modern day Atlantis. That is absolute fact. And they're the energetic patterns that they're processing. Started out as a good idea, good intentions to create a country with freedom and rights for the people and what have you, but it's just gone bad, and needed to do so, because if you understand the cycles of life that we've been in, each cycle is it gets compressed to a shorter period of time, and then that cycle gets compressed to a shorter period of time, and it's a cycle within a cycle within a cycle, and that's what the main calendar shows and represents, and the Aztec and Egyptian and all the different calendars around the world are showing that same concept, and hence we're on the road to compression as well, and 0 point. So if you had a civilization that represented Atlantis in the cycle before, then what's the energetic pattern in this cycle? And that's the America, United States of America. And so it's a tough gig. What do these people do? Again, like you said, it's where you are in the country, it's which country you're in, and it comes down to your individual journey. How do you go about it? Wow. I would say follow your inner guidance, and if you feel intuitively the need to stock up on food, then do it. But if you're stocking up on food because you're coming at it from fear, then that's a different approach altogether. If you're going to start putting bars up on your windows and loading yourself up with armaments and things like that, then what are you manifesting?
Exactly.
Some people just trust and believe that they're going to be taken care of and it's going to be all right. They'll always just find a way through whatever situation. They'll be provided for no matter what. So again, it will come down to the individual journey. And all I say is trust your intuitive guidance, because that's what's going to get you through, not a reactive response. It's not a response, it's a reaction from fear and from the mind, I would warn against that. I'd go more intuitively. And if you've got this deep gut sense that, intuitive sense that you do need to stock up on armaments, and that's your journey, do it, But
I think people also don't want to find themselves in a situation where they feel like they've got no choice but to get on a ship because they haven't prepared, or because they didn't get out in the area, they didn't listen to their intuition and leave a particular area, and now their choices are limited. And that's where I think people are
key to it. I mean, this is why I'm speaking. I come out and speak is because how many options are there out there for people, and for people to understand this other perspective now, it allows them to contemplate their life and their situation and the choices they have. I say the future's already happened. Sure, it has. A movie. It's a movie. It has a script. It has an outcome. Right? We're in linear time. Past, present, future. The future's actually already happened. Could I sit back in a cave and do nothing about it? If I wanted to, does that serve? It doesn't serve my journey. It won't serve my soul to do that. So I've incarnated to play a role in this movie. So I'm playing my role, and what I'm doing is I'm actually honouring down here, because I've talked about ultimately there's no free will, which there isn't ultimately from the moment you entered this universe, because that
got people talking.
Greater aspect of you is what's orchestrated this whole life down here in this universe and all these experiences. Yeah. So that's that concept. But down here we've got the illusion of having free will. So the free will that we have down here needs to be honoured. So by providing this information, it gives people more information to choose from. Therefore, I'm honouring their free will down here as well. So there's that comes into play. It allows people to make a choice from down in here, if that makes sense at all.
Yes.
I'm speaking in a multidimensional sense now. Yeah. So it could be perceived as though I'm contradicting myself, but I'm not.
No, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
You touched on earlier America and Atlantean energy. So I wanted to run something by you, which is
Sure.
a belief that I've had for so long that I don't even know where it came from. Okay, and I just want to get your feedback on it. The belief that there was Lemuria first. There was a subculture within Lemuria that wanted to go off and experiment, branch out a new area. That amicably it was decided that they would need to leave the physical place of Lemuria to do that, and they established Atlantis. That once Atlantis was established, it was then, I guess, infiltrated is the word, by a negative energy, which ultimately led to its destruction and Lemuria's and whatever else was around at the time. And this brings us back to here, which is
what you just said resonates with me greatly, because that's how realities are formed in the path of descent that we have been on. That's how realities get formed, because when a reality gets formed, the original idea, then another idea branches off, and then when that vibration is expressed, it attracts beings from the universe according to that vibration, because they weren't attracted to that original vibration.
Right.
They couldn't access that vibration, it was beyond their paradigm. So this expression gets created, that attracts other beings, which then brings that vibration down, then that'll branch off, and then more beings will come in, and that, and that's how all these different paradigms get created on a path to different vibrational patterns.
And now we find ourselves in a situation where the US, as you say, is the kind of reincarnation almost of Atlantis.
It is.
And I believe that Australia is the reincarnation of Lemuria. And that the two places are very, very connected. And that we are working out the energies of Lemuria.
There are aspects of Lemuria here, but I would say there are very strong aspects of Lemuria also in Africa and in South America. Still. And that's
equally to here?
I would say that none are equal to each other. I'll say that different aspects of the Lemurian energetic patterns exist in each of these continents, and they all serve a different purpose. The one that here has, I would say, some of the originating constructural templates, and they are being activated, reactivated, and being serviced from the vibrational pattern of the land here, simply because in reality the first life forms of recent times, and I'm talking the last few billion years here on Earth, were manifested on the landmass that we call Australia. It wasn't, the birthing of life did not happen in Africa, as many would like you to believe. And you could say, well, you're just supporting your own football side because you are born in Australia. Well, I would challenge any scientist to go to the Flinders Ranges in Australia and take a look at the fossils there, and some already have, and you will find out, like others have, that the fossils there are the oldest on the planet, even older than at the bases of our oceans. It is the oldest landmass. That's why the Australian Aborigines are a culture that is unique to every other culture on the planet. They have 2 extra chromosomes in their DNA. They are uniquely different. And the land here is incredibly ancient indeed, incredibly ancient. And so that's why the patterns that are involved and the beings that are involved with Australia at the moment, and the reason why we have underground base like Pine Gap here, the reason why the ruling elite have now come to Australia as their sanctuary, there's so many different reasons why Australia is the focus behind the scenes of so much of what's going on. When I tell people Australia is what controls the world, or the people that live in Australia actually, they're the hidden behind the scenes people that pull the strings on the planet. They actually live here. And their names, family names that people aren't aware of. Everyone hears the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, and and then behind them you've got the Webb family, World Wide Wicked Web, hello, there's so many other families, names that people aren't aware of in the public arena. That's just one. I won't go into too much of that. Just being respectful. And there's so many founding names that you don't hear about, and these are the ones that really do hold the power. The ones in the public arena aren't the be-all and end-all. They're still really taking orders. So if you've heard about them in the public arena, they're not the real power brokers.
I have heard from several sources that Australia is actually the base of operations, so to speak.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. One thing that I'm getting from a lot of the feedback is uncertainty that people are going to make the right choices. They want to know they're going to go through the organic process and not be tricked or not be led or in some way end up in a synthetic environment. What, if any, are there signs or symptoms in a person's life, in a person's body, that can confirm for them that they are on the path to an organic ascension process? Is there anything you can...
Yeah. I would say that they feel like they belong there. Not do they feel on a shallow level like they're heading there, but do they feel like they belong there? And I would say it's that sense of belonging that is the sign that will is really the sign that will tell you, yeah, I feel like I belong there. I feel like I've earned my right to be there. And everybody has the right to be there. Really, anybody can ascend. It's not exclusive. Having said that, there is a process at hand. I've said it before. There'll be beings who will be perceived as being negative at this point in time, but will end up ascending, because it's all about achieving balance. So there'll be people who feel like they are in a lot of pain at the moment, that they're spiraling a lot of negativity within their life at the moment. And that is the drama. I call it the merry-go-round of misery and drama, because I was there. I went through this process myself. And when you're in that state, you don't see things clearly. You really don't. That's the reality. And I say to those people to be patient, because something that came to me just the other day, this is really appropriate time to share it, was I am not perfect, but I am perfect the way I am. And I want people to know that they are perfect the way they are right now, with that pain, with that misery, and it's just an energetic process that they're going through in order to rebalance themselves. Uncertainty
and doubt
because
ingrained in us, and not to trust our energy, not to trust, always to trust outside, and so that we end up feeling like the world is in such a mess. The 5D just sounds almost too good to be true. Is what I'm feeling just wishful thinking and wanting out of this, or is what I'm feeling that sense of belonging, that sense of knowing that that's where I belong? So even though you say take it from the sense of, do I really feel like I belong here? People are even going to doubt that. I think it's just a process, like you said, of learning to trust.
It does depend on how deep, how many layers of doubt they have, and to get into that deeper space within where you know that you belong somewhere that's harmonious and basically just peaceful and graceful, a reality that shows those attributes of life, that are those attributes of life, rather than, because you've got the other paradigm. We've been in such a negative swing for so long, on the pendulum swing, on the negative side, or negative charge of the energy of the universe for so long. And you've got the opposing force of that is what we call positive and light. So you've got negative and dark, and the opposing force of that is positive and light. And so that is now coming into play in a very strong way. But that positive and light is only the opposing force to negative and dark. It is this equal. It is not, that light sees itself as above the dark, that it's better than the dark. And then you've got this negative energy and darkish sort of energy that sees itself as better than the light. So you've got these two equal opposing forces. The light that I'm referring to is above and beyond those two. You take those two energetic streams and you integrate them into one. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that energy that is infinite beyond that is the realm that I am expressing here. So the ones who come from this positive light charge here, which is the exact opposite and equal of the dark negative, they're the ones who make you feel like you must be eating these foods, doing these courses, you know, wearing white clothes or what have you. And if you're not doing all these great meditations and everything, you're not going to ascend. And then you've got to, you know, that is prevalent in our societies, whether it comes through a religious avenue, a guru avenue, light and love meditations on the internet avenues, Galactic Federation avenues, you know, ETs promoting these sort of concepts, and they keep throwing it at you. It's coming at us from all these different angles, and that's that energy there. Those beings are in that paradigm there. Yep. But what I'm sharing is that life and this energy is beyond that, in much, you know, it's way beyond that. Yeah.
Are there physical? I mean, we seem to be experiencing a lot of physical symptoms. Mm. Are they necessarily signs that you are on the path to ascension because your body is actually going through those changes?
Well, yeah, whether you have them or not, we're on the path. The reason, because I get a lot of physical pain still, and the reason why we're getting it is because we're processing internally vast amounts of energetic streams that we're consciously not aware of. Yeah. And I've discovered in my journeys that we have many, many contracts with many races out there on many different levels. And so you may be processing an emotion that you are processing for yourself originally, but piggybacking your own energetic patterns that you're processing energetic streams from other beings and other races out there. So we're doing the work for them as well. So we are ambassadors in this reality for those peoples. Okay. So we're carrying huge loads. That's why I say for a person who's curled up on the lounge and you know, and is in pain all the time and can't function in our society and can't go out to meditation groups, have tried different healing methods and tried taking different natural remedies and substances or whatever, and just can't seem to find something that's going to fix it. It's because it's not something you can fix. It's something you need to work through, and you need to, and it is, I use the word need, and it is a need for understanding that people are carrying an enormous load, and I mean enormous load, and as far as I'm concerned, they're heroes.
How often do you visit the fifth dimension?
Well, it's slowed down now, because what I'm finding is my incarnation here is now, I'm integrating with it more often. So it comes down to the state of being as George now, accessing or expressing more fifth dimensional. I mean, the knowledge I'm sharing with you here is not just 3, 4D. No. So I'm already expressing 5D stuff right here, right now. There's parts of me that are expressing 5D. There's parts of me that are expressing 6th, 7th, 9th, 8th, 9th D, you know, and beyond. Some beings pick up on it, some beings don't. So you are walking, we are walking like Greg Braden, what a beautiful man. Love the guy. His famous saying, we are walking between worlds. I love that, because we are. Mm-hmm. We are multi-dimensional beings, and we're living that. And people thinking, I've got to get to 4D, and I've got to... No, you're already there. I mean, if you go to a healer, and you're getting an energetic healing done, that's 4D. Yeah. When you get to 5D, you don't need a healer. The concept of healing does not exist. The concept of healers does not exist. Because you're in harmony with life, nothing needs healing. Okay, so that's another thing people have got to come to terms with.
That's going to put a lot of people out of work.
It does. Oh, well, I've said it before, it's become an industry. Mm. That's the reality. And it's a sad reality, but we're talking about an industry. Yeah, I don't mean to put people down by that, but they need to take a really good look at
No, but I think the people who are in the industry,
you know,
are coming from a genuine place of wanting to heal. And
they are. Most. Some are not, and that is the reality too. But most people have good intentions.
Can you elaborate on the healing bit a bit more? Because not just for... Hang on, let me start again. I'll do the... Can you elaborate a little bit more on healing? Because we've got both people who are in need of healing and we've got people who genuinely feel called to heal. So from both perspectives, where does that leave us if we're talking about the fact that this comes down to an industry? I mean, and what, as we're changing and as we're evolving, those needs are going to change and evolve as well. So where we go? Yeah.
Some people may take it a bit harshly that I mentioned that it's become an industry. I'd just like people to take a look at it and reevaluate within themselves how they're going about it and their approach and their intentions. There are a lot of genuine, great people out there, no doubt about that. And I did mention before the concept of healing itself is a 3 and 4D concept. 5D, there's no healing that takes place because the harmony with life is so integrated that there's nothing that needs healing.
Nothing?
No, there isn't anything that needs healing. It's just purely experiencing life in a harmonious state.
Not even in a more...
There's no aches and pains, there's none of that goes on because you're flowing in that river of life completely. It's a different state of being.
Well, yeah, it must be.
It is.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. And so the concept of requiring healing are 3 and 4D concepts. And when we are in need of healing, we're transmuting an energy or healing in an energetic charge, which is a 3 or 4D energetic charge. People have been feeling that they need to help heal people as well, naturally inside of them. And they're playing this wonderful, nurturing 4D aspect of themselves. And these are all the different concepts. Like once you've travelled to the 5th dimension, once you reintegrate with it, and you begin to understand the difference between the two vibrational patterns. It becomes quite obvious and apparent. And the more and more people, there's many people out there that already understand what I'm saying, and there's others who will soon understand it quite quickly as well. And especially listening to this, they'll just contemplate it. Just contemplate the fact that if you're in a completely harmonious state of being and you're a one with life, then there isn't anything that needs healing. It's just common sense, really. It does make sense. It does make sense. If things need healing, then it's the charges of duality in an intense state of being, which is 3 and 4D expressions.
So from 5D, will we understand and know all of our past lives?
Yeah.
And our journey, our whole purpose? And
every aspect you have in 3 and 4D paradigms still. The whole lot, everything, you will know everything. The vastness of the cosmos, you connect to all of that. And you know wherever you put your attention, you'll know everything.
It sounds like such a leap from where we're at now.
It is, because we're being pushed down so far. It's because we're being funneled, squeezed on this road to compression. Remember, from the cosmos to one galaxy to star systems to a planetary body, it's this road to compression. Because it took the journey of separation, bringing it back into oneness, and you're reintegrating all that separation. So it's being squeezed and squeezed and squeezed into what we call 0 point, and then you pop out the other side, and you birth into a universal creator. That's the path. It's
like an hourglass.
Yeah, it's kind of like an hourglass. Yeah.
Oh, popping out the other side.
Yeah. Well, it's birthing out the birthing canal, and that's what Mother Earth is. This is the womb of the mother, and the galaxies, the Milky Way galaxies, the galactic womb, and now we're on the planetary womb, and we're about to birth.
Yeah, I know people, especially women right now, who, talking about birthing, putting on weight, 5 kilos seems to be the magic number. People
just
putting
like
on
that.
5 kilos just like that. And it's always 5 kilos. It's not 10, it's not 3. And,
I can attest
and
to
it's
that.
all here. Yeah.
That's right. I got my little Buddha belly happening too, so yeah.
And women telling me they feel like they're about to give birth.
Yeah. Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
that's really
literally
profound. Like that, what you just said there, I felt it. And knowing what the Divine Feminine is going through, and I know there's women that don't like men speaking on their behalf. I hope they get past that resentment. I'm really trying hard to, in my life, I've worked very, very hard to integrate with the Divine Feminine and to understand what's going on. And you know, I stand up for her and I'll defend her, and I do. And I do have a bit of an idea about the feminine. Not a lot, but I do have some idea. A lot more than what I used to. A lot more than what I used to. So, you know, I've stood up publicly, said she's my hero, and she is, and continues to be so. And so the prospect of women feeling like they're giving birth, already having phantom birthing experiences, to me is spot on. It just sits in my heart wonderfully, because the Divine Feminine is about to give birth. So if multitudes of women are feeling these strange phantom aches and pains, that's perfect. That to me is spot on. Yeah, absolute. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
love
know
it. Love to hear it. Yeah, you're all heroes really, because we don't have that power of creation like the woman does, and that's what men need to come to terms with and understand the feminine and our own counterpart, because the feminine is us, but it's our counterpart expression of our oneness, of our one being, of our unified, sanctified self. So you know, we're still one being, but we're two different expressions of that one being.
And what about 5D? People are very anxious. They want to get there. They want a glimpse.
But they're already
I know.
there. That's the bit.
I get that, but in terms of having a conscious kind of, you've gone there in the sense of it felt like a visit.
Yeah, that's right. I have. Yeah.
Yeah. Most of us haven't done that.
Yeah, I understand.
But is there any way that we can facilitate an experience like that?
Not if it's not your journey. Like your lower ego wants it to happen. There's a lot of things that George wanted to make happen, but they never happened. And I got frustrated, and you know, and I felt all that. And then I came to realise that I can't make it happen because it's not supposed to happen. It's not in my journey for it to happen. So I say to people, just give it a go, and if it doesn't work, just let it go. Let it be, and accept that it's not your journey. People are aching to see a spaceship. I've got friends who have studied ufology for 20 years. They've never had a single sighting themselves. They've never seen any evidence for themselves. All they do is read other people's experiences, and it's frustrated the hell out of these people, right? And they were just in front of me. They're just, George, please bring a ship down, let us see. Mate, I just can't do it. It doesn't work like that for me. For some people it does. For me, it doesn't work like that. I'd rather just flow in the river of life, and when it happens, it happens. I just don't operate that way.
This actually brings me on to something that I wasn't.
It's about acceptance. Sorry, just to finish that. It's about self-acceptance. It's better for the people just to accept that that's the journey they've chosen for themselves. And that's where they're at right now. And when you can do that, you find peace with it. And then maybe it'll start to happen.
Is there any way of mistaking an organic doorway and a technological Stargate?
For the 99.999% of the people, no. For that tiny fraction, yes. Because it is their journey to make that mistake.
Okay. So, in other words, there is no mistake anyway.
Ultimately, there is no such thing as a mistake.
Right.
But it's the journey to experience the difference between a false opening and a true organic opening. You know, like a wormhole type structured setup. Instead of just a natural organic opening into a high plane in the universe, that's quite different.
People have connected with me and contacted me in a state of fear over the idea of making a mistake.
Yeah.
And worried that I'm going to fall for some stargate instead of going through that.
No, the knowing will be so overwhelming. It'll be just so complete, so through and through. People really shouldn't have anything to be concerned about. It will be, and the initial stages will be sometimes the parents will be in doubt, then they're holding a child which is like 2 weeks old or 6 months old, and that child will have such a strong connection with them. In the beginning they'll freak out that the child is telling them where to go and what to do, and it won't be telepathic, it'll be heart consciousness connection. And then after a while they'll get to the point where they'll just know as well. So things like that will occur. Yeah. The children will help steer the parents. That'll happen quite a lot.
Do you see these doorways starting to open up this year?
Right towards the end of the year. I would say at the very, very end of October, early November, they'll begin to open. There'll be some people that'll start walking through them, not before then.
And what happens from everybody else's perspective? These people just disappear?
Okay. I've already experienced, already had a future experience with this, where I was in front of my sister, and I said to her, "It's time for me to go to Avalon. I have to go now." And what I did was I just blended from this reality, and I felt myself going into Avalon, into the higher domains. And I remember seeing through the veil between the two realms and seeing my sister's face and the expression that she experienced in that moment. Other people have had other experiences, in relation to this sort of thing. So, and it wasn't a dream, okay? And it wasn't a manipulated dream, and it wasn't taken on board a craft and an experience that was implanted into me. It wasn't that. It was organic in nature. And people can say also that it's a possible outcome. Yeah, I'll agree with that. But I've had already experiences of that vibration, that flavour that I had prior, and those events have already manifested.
Right.
I've had others that felt a little bit different and didn't manifest, which and the way my ego was then, I thought was going to be the future, but didn't turn out to be the future. So the real future experiences you have down the timeline have a particular flavour to them. Okay. So I can identify between them now, because I'm still having some probable future experiences, and then ones that I just know are actually what's going to take place. And so we're going to be able to bilocate around the planet, and
after going into 5D or prior?
Yeah.
No, after.
After. Yeah. When we come back out, we'll be able to bilocate from one place to another.
What?
And that's the law of attraction.
Yeah.
That's how we traverse the universe. That's how, when we manifest a craft, a ship, which is an extension of our own being, our own light manifests that craft, and all the beings that are with it, what we do, all you do is you put your attention, like, as where your journey is flowing, that you're meant to be in that part of the universe. And you put your attention and your awareness there, and you just disappear from that and reappear in that part of the universe instantaneously. And that's the propulsion system, so to speak, is the law of attraction. I mean, we've all incarnated. That's what gravity is, right?
Yeah.
Gravity. We've all incarnated here on Earth because our souls gravitated to here because it was a law of attraction. We were attracted here because the vibration here is what called our souls
yes.
to come and incarnate. It's the law of attraction.